Should I be getting a green dot?
Yeah.
There we go. All right, now we got a green dot. Hello, looks like we are live. Welcome, everybody, to a very special NFL kickoff week live before lock show, where we're going to take you through the entire 12-game afternoon slate. So much to look forward to. Football's back, guys. I'm Chris Spags, joined by my good pal, the Chubster, Josh Engelman. Josh, how are you doing on this fine football Sunday?
I'm getting there, man. This is hectic. I've been up most of the night, all of this morning, getting ready to break this stuff down, but I'm ready. I'm excited. I'm ready to pop Red Zone on an hour and just sort of dive in as deep as I can.
It seems like it's taking you a little bit longer than I would have liked. And personally, emotionally, I would have liked for you to get into the football spirit. You're like a little bit grinchy with football, but now you're ready. Your heart's grown 4 sizes. You're ready to embrace Alvin Kamara and David Johnson appropriately, I assume.
Here's Les Johnson, but that's neither here nor there for right now.
It's the first time you've ever said that.
That's true. I walked right into that one. Took half an Adderall this morning, so I feel pretty sharp, but I walked right into that. The reason that I had such apprehensive thoughts to the NFL was because baseball was going so well for me. And now, since the second week of August, I have been eating piles and piles of dongs in baseball. Not the good way, not the home run dongs, but just dongs in general. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And now I'm just ready to play football because I want to lose in a different sport.
That's true. It is a fertile playing ground for picks. You heard the game plan, guys. Both Laffy and Ben took you through game by game. We're going to go through. We're going to have late breaking updates. I mean, hopefully there won't be anything else late breaking. Will Fuller being out is kind of a kick in the nards for me, both for my season long and for my DFS teams. I liked that guy. So now
I'm not familiar. What is the season long thing you speak of? We don't cover that garbage here.
It's mostly a way to keep in touch with friends and have them lose money to you once a year. Just a good way to keep that relationship going, I would say.
That's your first mistake, keeping in touch with friends. Sorry, friends.
Fair enough. What are you coming up with so far in your crunches? Obviously, if you're a premium member, actually, let's give the people out. We do have a free trial thing if you want to go check out our premium services right now, which for now include Fantasy Cruncher integrated right on the site, right on the border of the website when you go log on. So you can join us. I guess we don't have a code for this, but which code should we use, Josh? Strategy Show?
Yeah, Strategy Show. One big word. Strategy Show.
Use promo code Strategy Show. You get a free 1-week trial for Awesemo.com. That includes our premium rankings, our ownership projections, Awesemos column right now, breaking down the likelihood of each player finishing as the top flex guy. Go check that out. It's available for you. Use the promo code Strategy Show, and you will get a free 1 week of everything, including Fantasy Cruncher, our good friends. So there you go. All right, what are you doing with your crunches, Josh?
Do we want to hit it positionally, or what do you think would be easier?
Yeah, you go positionally. Why not?
We're in uncharted territory. We've talked NBA, we've talked MLB for months and months now, so we don't necessarily have a structure for football yet.
No, we're going to figure it out. Oh, we do have the one thing, though. We are going to do our Crown of Dongs equivalent for NFL. It's going to be, we have to predict 100-yard rusher or receiver every week. So Josh and I will be doing that, maybe Jake in the chat as well. But that'll be our competition for the year. We felt like that was the only thing that was hard enough, but not impossibly hard. So those will be our picks coming up again at the halfway mark. So we'll do that 12:30 Eastern. We'll give you our 100-yard guys. But let's go through QBs first, Josh. What are you doing at QB?
Yeah, I mean, I'm spread out pretty heavily at quarterback. Brady, Mariota, Russell Wilson, and Bortles are my 4 highest exposed guys, but nobody's sort of crazy. But Brady's the guy that I'm looking at the most for right now. What about you?
So you're willing to pay up even for for tournaments? You're going maybe paying up a little bit of contrarian, even though I guess he's not that contrarian.
What did we have his ownership at? But yeah, like I'm with the field on Brady. I don't have a problem paying up. Look, 7,200 is healthy on a week where there's not a ton else in his range, but I'm confident. I have a feeling that we're going to get a big Brady day, and I also have a ton of Gronk as well, and quite a bit of Burkhead. So I'm betting pretty heavily on the Patriots.
Okay. Yeah, I like Brady too. I think that Gronk looks good. Hogan obviously looks good. I think I've talked myself even to a few Cordell Patterson lineups because I do think The routes that he ran in Oakland are pretty similar to some of the routes that they're losing with Edelman and Amendola off the field. So I'm with you on Brady. I do think he's a good play. I do think for tournaments, though, and this might be one of those fallacy things that we're going to learn throughout the year, I have learned in the past that usually you want to pay down at quarterback and just cast your luck with a guy because pretty much any idiot can throw 3 touchdowns if you give him enough of a rope to do so. So that's why I am on heavily, not super duper heavily, but heavily enough, Mr. Blake Bortles
I have a decent amount of Bortles. I'm not happy about it.
him and Andy Dalton. I think Andy Dalton's a little bit of a chalkier pick. But Bortles in a really perfect matchup versus the Giants. Giants terrible versus the pass last season. Really done nothing to improve it besides bringing in the new defensive coordinator, who I do believe in, James Bettcher. I think is pretty good. But I don't know that you could change over as bad as they were last year. They gave up second most yards per game overall, 7.2 yards per pass, and also gave up a high volume of plays defensively. So to me, I do think that Bortles might be the sneaky play of the day, and we'll talk more about the guys with him. Anybody else you're ashamed to have some ownership of at QB?
Half of my team. No, not really. Look, I'm spread out a lot. I have bites of most of these dudes, but yeah, Bortles does not make me excited. I have a decent amount of Sam Bradford over the field.
Interesting.
I'm comfortable with that when he's healthy. It's not like I have a problem with having. Look, he's probably going to complete 85% of his passes, and they're all going to be for 3 yards. But maybe David Johnson will break one.
No, that's fair. And Bradford is very accurate, if nothing else. And I do think that there is. I wrote in my column. If you haven't read it yet and you want to read it while we're going through this, the Slant and Go is up now on the Osmo homepage. But yeah, I wrote in there too. The Redskins are pretty bad at wide receiver too, defending that position. So I think that Christian Kirk maybe and would be who else? And Chad Williams is the other guy who's not as good as Christian Kirk, but I think he is a consideration if you're trying to get some of that Bradford stack action or just get Bradford in at quarterback. Drew Brees too, another guy who jumps off the page to me as somebody I love a lot. Another guy you could pay up for. I think pretty comparably owns a Brady, but overall I think he's in a really good spot. Obviously, a pairing of him and Michael Thomas makes a lot of sense. 2 guys who are going to be very popular this week. Anybody else? Oh, one guy I'm a little ashamed of. Ryan Tannehill. Got a little bit of Ryan Tannehill.
I have almost none on DK. I have a little bit more than the field on FanDuel, actually. So I don't have a problem with Tannehill. It's mostly because of Stills.
Right. And I think Amendola is going to get some targets, too. I think he might have some usefulness.
I think I have significantly more Stills than Amendola, but I hear what you're saying. I could be wrong. No, I have significantly more Amendola than Stills. I spoke. Yeah,
Amendola's cheaper.
Yeah,
he's cheaper. He's definitely not as good as a deep threat as Stills is. But I think a pairing with Tannehill, one of those guys. I mean, there's a decent chance Miami plays from behind. That defense has been atrocious. The Titans are beatable through the air. I think there's some logic to Tannehill. Obviously, he's not a super high upside guy, but he is an A in value in Osmo's rankings and under 5% ownership. So got to pivot somewhere. People in the chat talking up Kirk Cousins. How are you feeling about Kirk Cousins? I think he's actually a pretty sneaky play as well. But what do you think about Kirk?
I'm a little bit over the projected field on FanDuel. On DK, I don't remember him popping up, but I also just had no concept on. But I do have a little bit of Cousins. And that's mostly because Diggs is one of my highest exposed receivers. I'm like 3 times the field on Diggs on DK. So Cousins is coming along for that ride pretty easily.
Yeah, I don't think San Francisco's improved enough defensively this year. I think they're probably a year away, and they think that the signing of Richard Sherman is going to turn everything around. But I don't think that's a signing that's going to necessarily change everything for them. They were pretty bad, gave up 6.9 yards per pass last year. Gave up some pretty good scores as well, 37.8 scoring rate against them. So I think overall Cousins makes a lot of sense. Cousins with Thielen, Cousins with Diggs, Cousins with Rudolph. I think all those guys might be interesting today. What are you pairing your quarterbacks with? Let's go to wide receivers or just, I guess, stacks in general. We got to figure this out as we go. But who are you stacking with your quarterbacks? Because I'll tell you mine up front. Bortles with Cole and Westbrook is one of the moves I've made a few times today. What else are you doing stack-wise, Josh?
I actually don't have Bortles. Let me check my notes quick. I just want to make sure that I'm not lying to anyone. Yeah, so I don't have Bortles handcuffed to anybody. He's one of the few quarterbacks that I'm not stacking. So while I do have quite a bit of Bortles, he's not coming along with anyone else. Diggs, big time exposure. Fitzgerald, big time exposure. DeAndre Hopkins, big time exposure. Antonio Brown, but that shouldn't be terribly shocking. Other guys that I'm quite over the field: Amendola, Demaryius Thomas, Kenny Stills. Go Dolphins.
Interesting. Okay. I like some of those plays. I'm the lack of Jaguars though. Like I don't get. To me, the fact that people are going to play Cole at very high volume, but not consider Westbrook, according to our ownership at least, they're not considering Westbrook right now. They're not considering Moncrief. They're very little considering Safarian Jenkins. But I think all those guys are in comparably good spots. They're all super cheap, and Bortles as well is super cheap. So like I think you can double stack Bortles a couple ways, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's valuable today. You didn't mention Keelan Cole and your guys. What's your Keelan Cole exposure? DJ Dog is asking.
I have 8% Keelan Cole on DraftKings. Way, way, way under the field. I'm a little bit more with him on FanDuel, though.
Wow. What? Why? Just because of fading him because of chalk, and you think you can go other places?
There's just too many options out there right now, and since I'm not tying him to Bortles, he's not really that essential for me.
Okay. I love Keelan Cole today. I have I don't even know percentage-wise the amount that I have, but I have, I think in the neighborhood of 50% Keelan Cole. I think he's a fantastic play. His targets last year when everybody was out, which is the same situation he's getting this year, were very high. He was a top 5 PPR receiver when he was starting. I think that Cole's in a great spot. And I think people fading, I think there's a lot of confusion about NFL chalk, because NFL chalk is kind of not the same as some of the other sports. I think if you have good chalk, I have no problem playing it. And Cole to me is such a good play where I'm not fading him.
I'm not sure there's anything that's good chalk in the NFL. The NFL is terrifying.
Well, yeah, no, but I mean, Kamara, I don't think there's any world Kamara might not get enough touches to score. People on the other live stream, on the Game Plan live stream, were saying Kamara might get 50 plus points. It's I don't know that I want to stake on that, but Kamara getting 25, the odds of that, I don't know if you have a simulator for this for football, but the odds of that are pretty high.
I don't have anything built yet, but I will probably for next week.
I don't even know if it was even possible to make that because it's not quite as straightforward of a thing.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's an approximation, no doubt, and it's going to miss a couple guys that just aren't guys that we ultimately look at. But no, I mean, Kamara's, he's in a great, he's so good.
Yeah, no, he's so good.
I have a ton of Kamara today. And now that Fantasy Cruncher is updated and I can check and see sort of how chalky individual lines get with Kamara, I'm comfortable having that and being able to make sure that the rest of my line is unique enough that I'm eating that chalk quite a bit.
Some questions coming in. What do you think about Carlos Hyde and I guess the Cleveland game in general? There's been some weather concerns, some different reports going around of either terrible weather or not terrible weather. What are you doing with the Cleveland game? And I guess, what do you think about Carlos Hyde, who a lot of people are touting as a sneaky play? I think he's been in the Millionaire Maker winner for week 1 the last 3 years or 2 years.
I don't have much Hyde. I'm not concerned there. And the weather isn't really playing too much of a factor for me. It's not like I was going to be getting really ridiculous on wanting to have Browns to begin with. I still have a bunch of Connor. I still have Bugs. I still have Antonio Brown. I don't care what the weather is. I mean, Antonio Brown is going to be getting the ball one way or the other. And I'm willing to eat the chalk on Connor at that price point and get different elsewhere.
So Connor is one guy I have been off of mostly. I just don't think he's as talented. And I mean, that is not me going out on a limb, really. I don't think he's as talented as Le'Veon Bell. But I really think they're not going to use him anywhere close.
Sound the alarm for that hot take. Holy shit.
I know. You got to be brave sometimes on these live streams when you're trying to get the views up. But I think, no, James Conner's just not as good of a player to me as Brown is. And I don't think he's going to be used the same way. I think the Cleveland rush defense, I mean, people know it's a good defense. For some reason, they're forgetting it. I think Connor can get 20 touches and, 80 yards and a touchdown and be a totally fine play. But I'd rather go with some other guys who I think have more upside, more PPR upside especially. But yeah, no, I'm also not on Carlos Hyde. I don't think that's a play. I actually have more of the Steelers defense than I do anything else because on that Brown side.
I feel like I might start calling you Stephen A. Spags.
because the spicy takes I have about John Connor relative to Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah. That just came to me. I don't know.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I don't know. I just like the Browns didn't do it for me. Antonio Brown, you can definitely talk me into. I think I have a little bit of juju as well. I have a lot of juju in real life, but a little bit of Juju Smith-Schuster. But yeah, I don't know. I don't love that game too much. The weather's not scaring me away, but I just don't think it's as perfect a matchup. I do see it being a little more smash mouth, a little more close to the vest than a wide open game like some of these other ones might be.
Yeah, I like Juju. I have double the field that we're projecting right now on DK. Let me take a look and see what I have on FanDuel. Wow, 12-23 already. We're getting there.
We are getting there.
Juju, I'm basically with the field. I'm not deviating too much in that Pittsburgh-Cleveland game from the field. I'm pretty much running out a match of everything that the public is projected to have, except for a little bit more Steelers D.
Yeah, and then one thing to note too, the Browns were pretty bad DVOA versus wide receiver ones last year. They tried to shore it up. They drafted Denzel Ward at first place, but overall, we'll see how much that helps against Brown of all guys. What is this? Andre Quan is Andre Khan just or Keen? Is he just spamming? I don't know what this is.
I assume it's a way to watch NFL games without paying for it, which we cannot condone.
Oh, okay. Well, don't spam illegal things, Andre Keene, please. We appreciate the offers and help. But anyway, what are you doing? I guess what running backs talked about your boy Connor. I'm just pinning him to you from now on. Who else are you going to at running back?
Gotta move my stuff. I need to build out like really good views for this. I'm bouncing around trying to figure out where I want to be. Boop, boop. Let's drop this. Lots of Fournette, which I'm pretty happy about. His ownership is relatively low, so that makes me feel better. I don't know what your thoughts are on Fournette, but I'm very happy that he is not projected to be terribly highly owned, particularly on FanDuel. I'm miles over the field there. Tons of Zeke on FanDuel. He's another guy that's relatively low owned that I have quite a bit of on both sites. I am going to have Connor. I am going to have Kamara. But I think that the rest of my lines are just sort of perfectly scrambled around them. Okay.
Yeah, I do like Fournette. I don't think it's as great of a matchup for him as it is for Bortles, but I think obviously, if you are playing Bortles, there is some logic in going Fournette too, just as a pivot off of the passing game there. And Fournette is one of the highest touched running backs. I don't know how to say that. One of the most touch getting. That's not even any better. I think highest touched is how. So I'm gonna stick with it.
Yeah, just go with it. It'll be fine.
Like the third most touches in the league, running back. So I think that's totally fine in a matchup versus the Giants, where if the passing game can't punch it in, obviously somebody has to, and that's going to be Fournette. So I think that makes sense. I'm trying to think what other pivot I have. Oh yeah, obviously the guy I've touted him in pretty much everything, and a lot of the public has caught up with him. A lot of the media, at least, has caught up with him. Ownership wise, maybe not so much. Alex Collins, I think, is a fantastic play, and there are some weather concerns there, I guess, about with rain. Some people saying the weather there might be worse than the Cleveland game, but I think Alex Collins, even in a bad weather game, is probably going to get the ball even more. Collins matches up really well for me versus the Bills, and I just think he's going to steamroll them tonight. So Collins is like one of my favorite dudes on the slate, and a good mid-price pivot to a lot of the other guys.
I have way more of him on FanDuel than I do on DK, but I'm with you.
Is he like priced better on FanDuel?
It's more of a roster construction thing on FanDuel for me.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, I think Collins works. I have him in the flex a couple times. I have a couple of him with Kamara, him with Johnson, him with McCaffrey. Collins has been like one of my guys. He and Keelan Cole are probably my two most owned guys this week. Let's see. Luck will not be slanging that thing. He can't throw downfield. Did you watch the preseason? What are you doing? Another guy who's going to be pretty highly owned. Not that tight end's a sexiest position. Jack Doyle, we have projected to be very highly owned. He's been touted a lot. What are you doing with the Colts and I guess with Jack Doyle?
I basically don't have him at all on FanDuel, and I'm right with the field on DraftKings. It's just he's a cheap tight end play with an option to score a touchdown. I don't really have a hot take on Jack Doyle. I'm cheering for him because he's my wife's tight end and her the season-long thing that we don't talk about. So I'm naturally going to cheer for him there, but I'm pretty under the field on FanDuel. It's just not a good spot.
Yeah, I think the Cincinnati defense is actually pretty good, and I think people are expecting this to blow out. Cincinnati does give up a lot of plays defensively. I think they led the league last year. Yeah, they gave up 68.2 plays per game defensively last year, which would be the most in the league. But they are effective defending. They do limit quarterbacks under 60% completion rate. They do a good job limiting passing touchdowns. So I think if anything, the Bengals might be a little bit of a playable defense because they can generate pressure. They're also going to have a lot of plays run against them. And Andrew Luck has proven in the past he can be turnover prone, and he might not be able to throw deep. So I'm off of Doyle, and I actually have a little bit of the Bengals defense today.
Yeah, I just gave everybody a timeout talking about ways to watch these games today. Can't have it in this channel, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, way to promote your illegal streams and companies.
Yeah, I mean it's a it feels different. It feels like people are coming here specifically to do that, so I don't need it.
Strange. Weird to be a vessel to illegal things. We're like Ozark. We're like Jason Bateman.
Can't help you there. No idea what you're talking about.
It's a timely show. They did sponsor the Thursday that one Showdown Slate Millionaire.
I saw that.
Yeah, they're all over the place there. It was really poorly named, dude, because like the characters' names are the birds, and they called it the Battle of the Birds, but spelled it like the character last name. It wasn't the cutest.
That's the public for you.
Yeah. I hope Connor is 40% owned. He's the easiest fade of the day, Andrew Mock says. I agree. I don't think he's an easy fade, but I think there's enough places to go. So, yeah, that's the hope. Immortal Syndicate, that's because you guys are getting bigger. Yeah, I hope so. Look, people want to tether themselves to us with illegal things. By all means, just make sure we get a little wet the beak under the table a little. Just give us a kickback. Peyton Barber take. We have not talked about the Bucs side. Peyton Barber is the unquestioned starter there. Ronald Jones is inactive today for the Bucs. Do you have any Peyton Barber at running back?
I have none on DraftKings, and I have very, very little on FanDuel.
I do have a little bit of Barber, just like a very little bit. I think it's an interesting pivot point at Saints D. I don't think the Saints D is that good, and I think people are going to play them at a decent volume tonight because they think the Bucs are that bad. And I think Barber is actually a pretty good player, very good in the pass game, very good in the run game last year relative to the other guys who ran the ball for the Bucs. So I actually think Barber is a pretty sneaky play. I don't know if he has the upside of some of the other guys when you're talking about, hey, you could play Kamara, you could play David Johnson, you could play Alex Collins. I don't know that I'm trying to play Peyton Barber as much, but I think he's a fine play.
I think the Bucs are terrible. So the last thing I want is their running back against the Saints.
Defensively,
if it's 14-0, 8 minutes into this game, you could have Barber shares all you want. They're not going to be very useful.
I guess it is that time now. We did say we're going to do it at 12:30 Eastern, so let's do our 100-yard man. I don't think we have the baseball savant in the chat, so fortunately, I guess we won't have a Jake pick. He's not the football savant. He is the baseball savant, so I guess we'll be fine. Do you have your 100-yard guy pick?
No, clearly I don't. I don't have my home runs picked when we do this, and I actually care about baseball.
Fair enough. I want to go Alex Collins. The weather worries me a little bit, but you know what?
I've got mine.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna go with Chris Hogan.
Oh, okay. I like that pick. Yeah. Also, I wonder, I assume it's safer to pick a running back than it is to pick a wide receiver. I would assume.
I don't know.
I'm gonna go.
You're gonna take Cameron Brate or something. Make it like your home run picks.
You know what? I'm gonna go Alex Collins.
That's fair. I just think even a healthy amount of him on FanDuel, so in a way, I hope you're right.
Even if he has a mediocre day, he's gonna just get the ball so much in shitty weather. They don't want to put Joe Flacco in a bad spot where he doesn't need it. So
I have a question for you, and it's fantasy related. What are you doing with Barkley?
I'm not playing him.
Same.
Oh, Jake is playing David Johnson. What a dick.
Jake's taking Stanton in cores today.
He really is. I was clearly not going to take Kamara. Clearly not going to take David Johnson. What a coward. Jake wants to win this too. Bastard. You should do 2 touchdown games. You can't predict that authoritatively.
Can't predict ball.
No, that's Yeah, the likelihood of that, you'll end up like we're gonna pick Joey Kuhn have one of those days. That's not gonna happen.
Take LeGarrette Blunt. All that dude does is score multiple touchdowns in a single game.
With no value added at all. He's playing tomorrow. I don't care about him playing at all.
Nope. Neither do I.
All right. What else have we?
Yeah.
What defensively, we talked a little bit about it. Where are you going at defense? Obviously, defense is not the sexiest thing to talk about, but that is an important part of it all. What are you doing defensively?
Mostly randomized around price tags. It's different on both sites. Lots of Pats, Jags, Dolphins on DraftKings, Dolphins, Saints, Cowboys, Steelers on FanDuel. But really, I don't even care.
So there, I do think that this is sort of the, you pay up for bats equivalent of NFL, where you don't really care about what defense you land on. For me, though, I thought it didn't make a lot of sense to fade the Ravens this week. I get they're the highest priced defense. Going against Peterman, I think, is just a spot where I want to be a part of that. At least for week one, I think the Ravens defense is not as good as it was last year. Again, I've talked about in some of the other videos we've done. They force turnovers at a rate that seem unsustainable given the pass rush they have and the amount of fumbles they force. Like, they recovered a lot more than they should have. So I don't think they're as good as they are. But again, they get the Bills, they get Peterman. It seems stupid to me to just not take the easy one there. I also like the Steelers a little, and I mentioned I like the Bengals. I think those are probably my main three defenses this
Ravens,
week.
17% projected ownership on DK. I have 2. 17% projected ownership on FanDuel. I have 6. So not a place that I want to be. Yeah,
no, that's fair. I think if you can fade a defense, obviously it makes sense. It is a very volatile position, but sometimes I think the matchups dictate where you got to go, and I just don't see the way the Bills get anything done. I do think, though, I mentioned it in the Slant and Go column, that I think pivot of LaShawn McCoy, if you do think the Bills keep it close, he's just going to get the volume regardless. I think that is sort of a place to go if you don't want to play the Ravens and you have room for LaShawn.
Yeah, I have like 2.5 times the field on Shady.
A name more appropriate by the year.
Apparently it's not so shady. He's going to just be fine.
Unbelievable. Like, that was a really outrageous claim, but I guess you don't know what the truth is. You don't know what the truth is.
Unbelievable?
The
NFL came out saying that like Ray Rice didn't do it, basically. So I don't believe. True. I'm not shocked by anything that Goodell pulls off. Slimy shit.
Michael Kendricks is out of the league, so thank God for that.
Yeah.
Whew. Got that insider trading guy out, but you might have abused a woman. You can don't worry. We got a roster spot right there waiting for you.
Hey, now I've got Adrian Peterson as a quote unquote lead back for the Redskins. So what a perfect combination of terrible team and terrible people.
Our boy Beto back in the chat. Funchess or Landry? He's asking. Let's talk a little bit. We're not doing either ors yet, so please don't just throw in either ors. But let's talk about Funchess a little, because I do think he's an interesting play. What are you doing with the Panthers pass game? Because we didn't talk about Cam either.
I don't think that I have any Funchess.
Okay.
I essentially don't have him on FanDuel, and I literally don't have him on DK.
So there are people who I think are like advocating for loading up on Panthers, and I don't think that's a spot either. The Dallas defense definitely is not good, but it's not as bad as it seems, especially per pass. They only gave up 6.1 yards per pass last year. Overall team yardage per game was pretty low for Dallas, 318 yards per game, because that is a team who will squeeze the air out of the ball offensively and is pretty bend but don't break defensively. So I would not load up on Panthers. That said, I think Olsen and Funchess are pretty good plays. Funchess in particular just gets a lot of red zone targets, gets a lot of opportunity, gets more targets than people realize. So I think Funchess is actually a pretty good play, but I don't think you need to overload on that Panthers D, or Panthers offense rather.
I'm not really on the Panthers at all.
Yeah, you're afraid of the Cowboys. You get it.
You got it. You nailed it perfectly. Well, let's see. In total ownership, the Panthers are middle of the pack on FanDuel. Let's see what we have on DK. Where's team? Resort. Panthers are one of my least exposed teams on DK. I essentially do not have them. I have McCaffrey, and that's basically it.
Who's Chris Cox asking about the Chiefs position guys? You got Tyreek Hill, you got Kareem Hunt, and Travis Kelce. Do you have any Chiefs? And if so, which way did you go with that offense?
Very, very little. I'm with the field on Kelce. Just under the field on Hill on FanDuel. I don't have any Hunt or anyone else really. And then on DK, similar story. Basically, don't have them at all. We look at it. I have a little bit of Tyreek Hill, and that's basically it. So no Mahomes for me. Barely any Hunt. It's just not a spot that I'm getting to.
I think it's an interesting play given the amount of guys they have hurt, and I think they have like 3 or 4 rookies starting for the Chargers just because of some of their depth issues and some changeover. So I think it is an interesting play to go Kansas City, and obviously we do know that they have a potentially explosive offense. But to me, though, just looking at the numbers, I have a little bit of Hunt. I didn't really go crazy with anybody else. I think I have a little bit of Kelce too, but not a lot. I just don't think that Chargers defense is bad. Losing Bosa or not having Bosa this week is definitely a big issue, and I think there are some reasons though to go there, but I just didn't get there. Are the Vikings most overlooked stack today? We talked about them before, Beto, but I think they are pretty overlooked. I think people assume it's going to be more of a defensive game. I think the Niners are in trouble with the Minnesota defense, but I think the Minnesota offense is pretty overlooked.
I don't have a ton, but I do have some. I have more of them on DraftKings than I do on FanDuel, and it's pretty much all just Diggs for me. He's probably my favorite play of the day on DK as a wide receiver, just relative to where other people's ownership is.
Yeah, I could see that. I like Diggs too. I think Diggs and Thielen both, I think, are a little overlooked. Thielen a little less so, but Diggs, I think, is obviously a more explosive player too. Are we not going to talk about Eli Manning? I see no reason to. I don't think Eli Manning versus the Jags is where I'm trying to go today.
Unless you got a time machine. I mean, what would be the point of talking about Eli Manning?
Yeah, people really want to go against the Jags this week. I've noticed, like with Barkley too, people want to go. I've noticed some Odell, a little bit of Odell heat. I mean, obviously not ownership wise overall, but people are trying to push this. Not for me. I could see the logic with it. I know, Jacksonville's defense has been beaten up once or twice in big ways by teams, but this isn't it for me. I don't believe in the Giants. They got to show me something before I would go against the top defense last year.
No one's touching Eli today. He's not owned. I don't have him. I can't imagine. That's a very, very specific set of circumstances that has to happen for that to pay off.
Yeah, super contrarian. Like, hey, good for you thinking that way. But I think sometimes there is sort of a dumb contrarian play. I love a nice contrarian play as much as anybody. But I think, that's not a smart contrarian play because they were so good last year. And it's not one of those narrative things like data-wise. They generated sacks. They generated turnovers. They did everything that you don't want against Eli Manning.
Yeah, I'm totally good on Eli Manning. If this were 8 years ago, this would probably look like a decent spot to be on the other end of a decent or like a good defense, but I'm good on Eli.
Yeah, and plus they have Tom Coughlin in the Jaguars building now to give all the keys on how to stop Eli that no other team can figure out.
I'm sure the 900-year-old Tom Coughlin is just really keyed into how old-ass Eli Manning is playing.
That was a joke. Just obviously everybody knows the keys to stop Eli. They are mostly show up on the field and hold up your hands.
Unless you play the Patriots, at which point he's going to beat you.
True, that is. And he'll just throw it into the ear hole of people's helmets, and they'll catch it and score a touchdown. Keelan Cole, chalk, here I come. I agree. You will not find me talk shit about Keelan Cole. I think people are going to want to get cute. Keelan Cole should be 40% owned, and how I think. But whatever.
I'm good on Keelan Cole. On DraftKings, that is.
You will rue the day.
I doubt it.
Barkley can go 100 on them if Powell went off on Jax last year. This is the first game of the year. Jacksonville is as fresh as can be. They're out. They're an angry team with a lot of swag on them. I don't believe that's the same
Everything
thing.
Can happen. Like if we're going to be like, oh, Barkley can go for 100 because Bilal Powell did it last year. I mean, we can shut the stream off.
Sure.
We're just picking whatever we want then.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it certainly can happen, but you're playing the likelihood of outcomes in fantasy, especially if you're doing like a lot of the max 20 entries. You really can't cover the entire field, and I don't want to go with Saquon Barkley as one of mine.
I don't even think I want the Giants if I'm playing 150 lineups.
I think you can make a case for that.
Because it's not like baseball where Jake DeGrom's 40% owned, so you're hedging against his thing. It's not like you get a bonus because 75% of the people are on the Jags D. Yeah, you're not gaining anything. You're just playing a less valuable set of guys. And now, look, here comes Barkley for 2 TDs and Odell for 2 TDs, and it makes Eli look like he started getting Peyton's HGH shipments in. But I don't know. Maybe they're coming to Eli's wife instead of Peyton's wife now.
Their run D suspect just saying, no, their run D was not fantastic relative to the pass D, but why? To me, just the point is why even risk that? Like knowing that you can go with some of these other matchups, which are just about as easily laid up as they could possibly be. Like there's a point of getting too cute. That's how I feel about it.
Odell got paid. He might just go out there and take a nap on the field.
Just make snow angels and banks of money.
That's probably what I would do.
Absolutely.
Put myself into a Kardashian or a Jenner or something.
When I win the Millionaire Maker, you will find me making snow angels and $1 million in cash. I will tell you that much.
When I win the Millionaire Maker, you will not find me ever.
Are you kidding? I would be on a stream every day, and I would just sit back and be and people would be waiting for my picks. It'd be so exciting.
Oh no, I would certainly be here for sure. What the fuck else am I gonna do?
Probably ask for a raise though, even though you just deserve it. You're more valuable.
Yeah.
Colin Kaepernick and Serena Williams are my heroes. Just do it. Serena's little tirade was funny. I felt bad for her. It was awkward.
She can do whatever she wants. She's a goat.
I agree. It's bullshit that she does. She got that, and you've heard tennis players call the judges all sorts of awful names.
It's why John McEnroe is famous.
Yeah. People loved it. Oh, he's such a crybaby. He really berates them.
Serena Williams might be the greatest athlete ever relative to the rest of her sport.
True. I agree. And she had to hug a crying Japanese girl yesterday who beat her, and most awkward sports moment ever. But whatever. There'll be tons today too, I'm sure. Got lots of fun protest things shaking up. All the fun of the NFL will be hitting us soon.
All right, I think it's time to think about my final crunches and go over who I'm most over the field on. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, do that. But let's also, while you do that, let's talk about Denver real fast. Matthew Protowell, one of our guys in the chat, talk about Freeman will score 2 TDs. A lot of people also kind of been touting Emmanuel Sanders and the Broncos passing game going against Seattle. I don't see it. I don't think Seattle's that bad. And I think people really overreact to good defenses kind of regressing to the middle of the pack. And Seattle's in the middle of the pack, but still the top part of the middle of the pack. So I think that's a fallacy today. But what are you doing with that game, if anything?
I love Sanders and Thomas on
Really?
DraftKings. I have 3 times the field on Thomas. We're forgetting that he's incredible because he had garbage throwing to him last year.
Sanders or Thomas?
Thomas, incredible. Sanders, just solid. I have a decent amount of Sanders, but I think we're forgetting that Demaryius Thomas was a freak, 2+ years ago because he was dumpster diving at quarterback last year. And it's going to be really tough to perform in that situation. Broncos were bad. You would have to think that Case Keenum is going to solidify that quarterback spot for them at least a little bit. I'm not the biggest Case Keenum believer in the world, but he's better than Brock Osweiler and whatever other asshole they're going to run out.
No, I agree with that part of it, but I think this isn't the matchup though. I think people are treating Seattle like they're a sieve defensively, and they're not. They're competent. I think they get Earl Thomas back, which is going to be a bit of a boost, even if there is some sort of acrimony there. I don't know. I don't think they're as bad as we're making it out to be, and I don't think Denver's passing game is going to be that good right away. I agree, though. I think that there is a big improvement there. Keenum did lead the NFL in accuracy, or was second place rather in accuracy last year. But why? Why Seattle's not that bad? Guys.
If this game were in Seattle, I might have a different tune, but it's not. So I'm not going to start thinking that the 16th ranked Seahawks defense is going to be some barrier for some of these guys.
Fair. I think the part of the offense, or the part of the team rather, in Seattle that I would have more concerns about is the offense with Schottenheimer heading things up there, because he's a bad coordinator. But defensively, I think he's totally I think they're okay, and I think they're going to give people some headaches today. if you're rostering the Broncos at volume. What's Sanders' ownership, actually? I'm curious about that.
14%. Last I checked, 14% on DraftKings, 13% on FanDuel. I have 18 on DraftKings and 10 on FanDuel.
That's the one thing with football, which I need to get used to, is like, even compared to basketball, the ownership percentages are pretty, like, not crazy. Like, even Sanders, I feel like, is a little overowned, maybe. Like, 14% is still not crazy. Nobody's really going nuts on him.
It's hard to go nuts on any one individual player.
Except for Keelan Cole.
Well, the reason is that opportunity is unknown. So you can get really chalky in baseball because you know people have to come to bat in a specific order. You know that you can get really chalky in the NBA because either one, you're playing someone that's incredibly underpriced because there was an injury, or two, you just know that. Who's a good example? Donovan Mitchell's going to shoot 20 times.
Right.
It's just that is a much more guaranteed process than, like, Emmanuel Sanders doesn't have to even get a target today if shit goes wrong.
Sure.
And the variability in opportunity is what's going to keep guys down unless someone's just priced incorrectly.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense to me. I think all your points there are pretty valid, and I think that is a pretty good reason why the ownership would be a little less concentrated. But some of these plays, though, I think this week seem pretty clear cut to me. Alex Collins has picked up a little bit of ownership, and he's not as high owned as I would think he would be. A little slower reacting, I think, to some of the news too, compared to MLB, where those things change and ownership pretty much changes immediately for players.
I wish I liked Collins more. He's not. I don't love him on DraftKings. I like him a lot more on FanDuel.
I think these are the two picks that I feel the most strongly about, which I think you'll regret, are Collins and Cole. Those two, I think, are I feel like I'm steadfast on them, which might bite me in the ass. But
I have two times the field of Collins on FanDuel.
Okay, good. Chris and Josh, Seahawks tight end low owned 20 DK points today. So I've been all over the Seahawks tight end position. I tried to pick Will Dissly when we did our tight ends video earlier in the season, or earlier in the preseason rather. And it ends up being Nick Vannett starting for them. I don't think Vannett's as good of a player, so I'm not as on him as I was Dissly, but I do think you're right that there is value there. Tomorrow, though, is what's his face, Luke Wilson night for the Lions. So,
what did Hooper finish with Thursday night?
He got targeted. So the thing was, Hooper and Dallas Goedert, who was not a guy I was on as much, but they both got the targets to do it. They just didn't convert them. So that's football for you, Josh.
Exactly. I have very little Seahawks outside of Russ and Doug Baldwin, and I think that's probably how it should be.
Tell you, Hooper was better targeted in the red zone than Julio Jones was.
Well, so that's because they take fucking Julio Jones off the field in his entirety, which is, I can't even wrap my head around it.
They're like, Julio, try to climb up the goalpost and go there, and then we'll throw it to you. Julio, we'll throw
can you
the ball.
That? Is that considered out of bounds? I guess probably considered out of bounds, right?
It is, unfortunately. That'd be great, though. That'd be a lot of fun. I'm loaded up.
Oh my God, he's standing on the top of the crossbar.
It's like the Mankind Hell in a Cell thing.
He's
broken in half.
I was picturing it like Major League 2 when the Japanese outfielder goes and stands on the wall to make the catch.
I like a good Major League 2 reference.
Upside down.
King Anthony's touted Mike Thomas. Michael Thomas is a fantastic play today. I'm with you there. I like all the Saints. Saints onslaught.
I'm on. I don't have as much of him on FanDuel. I'm with the field on DK though.
Yeah, I think he's a quiet target monster. He's up there about as high as anybody besides Hopkins and Antonio Brown. So I think he's a fantastic play. Njoku will get a TD today. I like Njoku. I don't think this is the matchup, though.
I hope that he doesn't.
Yeah, I'm not as on that. To be honest, I don't really care that he does because I think my guys will get one too. Tyler Eifert's my guy, one of my sneaky guys too. 3,400 on DK.
Yeah, I thought today that I would end up with significantly more Bengals, but it's still just in my head. I basically don't have Dalton. I basically don't have AJ Green. Green's relatively chalky, so I'm a little nervous, but Bengals are mostly a fade for me.
Wow. See that pass game part, I even think you could talk me into Mixon too. I might have played like one Mixon lineup, not a ton. Colts really bad versus the pass and just gave up a ton of yards last year and DVOA wise too. They gave up value to every position on the field in the passing game.
I don't think that I want the. I don't think I want 18% owned AJ Green on FanDuel or 17% AJ Green on DK.
There's I think it was Michael Lombardi was talking on one of the Ringer NFL podcasts about how like usually you don't look at preseason things, but for him, Dalton, his like air yards target going up to over 10 and him just looking better, he thought was a sign that like this offense might be in for a really good year. I think Cincinnati's picked up a lot of heat from some of the touts, but I'm on board with it. I think Cincinnati does look good. It's just I still don't have faith in the Marvin Lewis thing that much.
Oh, neither do I.
Yeah, I know that'll last, but against Indianapolis, though, I agree. Why fade Cincy against that D? I'm with you on it.
I think they're overowned.
Yeah, no, the ownership is a little high, but could pay off. I think though, that's why I have some Bortles, so fade Dalton, but still like him. Stay away from Pitt and Browns game. 90% rain all day. I don't think that makes it a stay away.
Now, if it was going to be as bad as it was supposed to be, they were looking at what I'm about to get on Friday. But for now, I'm going for it. Yeah. Good luck with me Thursday, Friday, Saturday of this week. There's no telling where I'm going to be.
Oh, that's right. You're hurricane season for Josh.
It's marked as a major hurricane, and the final M on the graphic is sitting directly on top of Wilmington for Friday at like 2:00 in the morning. So as of right now, if it doesn't move, we are going to get fucking bludgeoned by rain.
There's a lot of variance, though. A lot of variance in hurricanes.
Yeah, I was a little nervous. For having to deal with it every year, I've gotten pretty good at checking out all the models and the European model, which is supposed to be the better one. And almost all of them aren't there's only one model of the 40 that I've looked at that will hook out to the Atlantic. Otherwise, I'm just going to get a ton of rain. Rain, I don't mind so much. The wind is the problem. We've got a lot of trees around the house.
Well, everybody pray for the people on the route of the hurricane, but pray for Josh. I think let's pray for them all equally.
Yeah, I don't want to have to be in a hotel in Charlotte for 4 days.
That's kind of fun, though. It's like a little mini vacation.
Yeah, but my job is pretty important with all of the... I built a studio in my office. So
fair point.
I host everything at this point.
Trey mentioning Miami. Speaking of hurricanes, sorry. Miami tight end on DK, Mike Gesicki. He didn't name him, but 6'6", 240 target monster, low owned. I actually did a little bit of Mike Gesicki today. Now that Marquise Gray is out for the year with an Achilles tear or whatever it was, I do think Mike Gesicki is a little bit sneaky. I don't know about the volume, though, so I think you're looking for volume week one. You want guys you can trust. You want to sprinkle in some of those guys. But I don't. But you're looking for volume more than anything because that's the most reliable thing you can count on.
Yeah, I don't have any Gesicki.
Yeah, no, I don't expect you to. I feel like it was like me getting too cute, but I have 2 Gesicki lineups in one of the quarters probably. All right, we got 4 minutes left. If you want to do some either ors, we'll do them now. Get them in last minute. We'll try to hit them fast. Michael L asking any crunches, Josh? Any last crunches for you?
I mean, I ran them a while ago. I didn't really have any changes that I need to make. It's a good thing about the NFL. Most of my shit was just ready to go.
In coming weeks, it'll be terrible. But for now, it's pretty okay. Pretty manageable.
Okay, so let's do this. What team do you want to succeed the most today? Ignoring the Cowboys, obviously. What would be the most beneficial outcome for you?
Jaguars. Definitely the Jaguars.
Mine's probably the Dolphins.
I like the Dolphins, too. I think they're going to be playing from behind. I think that's a good one.
Cowboys, at least on FanDuel for me. I got 4 times the field on Zeke.
Ooh, I have a little Zeke, a little Dak Hearns, a little Dak. I have 100 lineups today. I never run this many lineups for baseball, but I have 100 lineups.
I have 324 on FanDuel.
Mine were all made by hand though. So that's yeah, it's a labor of love.
Yeah, Aaron D, I'm gonna have electricity issues for sure. Good news is I have a generator that can power my house. Bad news is I'm not going to be in this house. If we're getting like a cat 4, I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. I'm not worried about water. I'm worried about trees. If water gets to my house, we've probably got like 6 to 7 feet of water in Wilmington, and most of the city is going to go away. So at that point in time, everyone's not going to have a home. That's not my concern. Trees falling on my house is the problem that I would deal with.
2 quick either or as well before we come back to Josh's life potentially being uprooted. Landry or Emmanuel Sanders for it?
I'm almost positive it's Landry, but let me double check. Ooh, maybe not. Emmanuel Sanders.
It'd be Sanders for me too. Seattle defense or Pats defense?
Pats, but I don't care.
Yeah, Pats, but I don't believe in that either. Fantasy Cruncher is pushing Pats hard. I didn't see that.
I have them. It's just, I don't know. They're cheap, right? Like crazy cheap?
Yeah, they're pretty cheap.
Yeah.
And and Watson turns it over, so I think that's the hope. But they're going to give up a ton of points though.
Yeah, if you're on the fence for a defense, just close your eyes.
Yeah, just whatever one.
You absolutely need to get a touchdown out of it. That's what your goal is, and that is about as random as it's going to get. So it's just not for me. I mean, if you get somebody like Macho Man Tom Savage or something, where you're going to get 5 picks in 15 minutes, one thing. But I don't try to get too cute with defense.
David Fang, Chargers at least 2 TDs today. I would agree with you if they had Bosa and were a little bit healthier, but I don't think that's matchup for him.
I would really I'm way underweight on the Chargers on both sides. I really need those assholes to move back to San Diego though, because finding LAC in this table and not SD is a pain in the D.
I also hate the ones of the different websites that have like LACH. Like I think Football Outsider says like LACH is their thing and LARN. So then I have to adjust it to LAR and LAC. Like by 4 letters.
I fucking hate it so much.
Fair enough. Well, hey, we're locked. It's football time. So thank you guys for watching. Again, if you want to get in on the free action, we have a 1-week trials going on. It's promo code Strategy Show. All of our NFL projections are there. They'll be there for the late slate, or rather the afternoon slate, as well as some of these showdown things. We'll have content coming out around that. So go keep an eye out there. Promo code Strategy Show will get you 1 free week of Osmo.com premium, along with Fantasy Cruncher, all the good stuff. Anything else, Josh, before we go watch football?
No, I'm excited. I'm gonna go pop on. I'm gonna pop on Red Zone. I'm gonna do some laundry, and I'm just gonna sit back and relax. I'm excited to watch some football. I'm surprised about that, but enjoy, everybody. Best of luck.
I am ready for some football. Good luck, everybody. Go Blake Bortles. See you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Later.